Behold in all its majestic beauty the new power plant around here. New power plant? How is that possible? That's an exercise bike. Oh, today it is. But me and my dumb ideas, have I got something to show you. Step 1, disassemble. Isn't that always the first part of any project when you're trying to recreate something? Disassemble. It's not Johnny 5. We will disassemble. Let me tell you what's cool about this little thing that kind of made me think, hey, this'll work. Cushy, comfy seat. Oh, that's a requirement. Tear, free of charge. That's right, Goodwill didn't charge me anything for that little gem. Brand name, don't know it, don't really care about it. I already got the display off right here. Started on it and went, ooh, I gotta make a video, because after all, you guys gotta know all the dumb stuff I do. So, step 1, what have I got that really turned me onto this thing? This right here. A heavy flywheel. I don't know what it's made of, but it's about 50 pounds of spinning mass. So as you start to pedal, whee, it starts to spin. And spin it does. It goes on and on and on. Why does that matter? Because I'm going to use that little gem to generate electricity. And a heavy flywheel will make it a lot smoother when you're starting to pedal. Because if I didn't have that weight there, as you pedal, you kind of go, and it gets all jerky and stuff. But with the mass, rotational mass, makes it a little smoother. Now, yeah, I know, it's kind of hard to see right now. After all, what is it? Just a big hunk of metal with some plastic on it. But what's next? We're going to strip the gears. Well, not going to strip the gears. We're going to take the plastic off. We're going to see what's inside. Ain't that what every good redneck does? Watch this. Boom. Damn. The dang thing done fell apart. What have we to behold? Hey, looks kind of like a bicycle. I know, shocking as that may be. But what I'm mainly looking at is this right here. No, not the dog. Go ahead and say, hey, Sparta. Okay, be gone. Alright, so we have our bicycle chain. Hold on. I guess, as you've noticed, Sparta's becoming a guest on the show quite a bit. But bicycle chain, runs to the center, right? Nothing fancy. You pedal, whee, and that turns the wheel. Sprocket, boom, goes around. Okay, nothing really shocking there. It's a bicycle with a 50-pound wheel. But what's cool, just in case you wondered, this is what's left of what used to be the resistance band. Now, it kind of connected right in there, went around the wheel, and then came back up to here. And here was this little set screw that you would tighten or loosen. It would pull the cable, and it would put tension against it. Okay, so why is this so important to my plan? Well, a belt will fit right in here, like a car belt for a starter, for an alternator on your engine, and it will lay down in here. And I can take and use this to turn the alternator, which will be located about here when I'm said and done. Just got to build some brackets, do a few adjustments in this, and we have an alternator hooked up, and then we will start to produce 12 volts. From there, it'll get a little more interesting. Now recently I upgraded the alternator on my truck. The stock one was 105 and I went and got one that was 145. A little bigger, a little this, a little that, and so of course I replaced the drive belt at the same time. Well, if I use this as a guide, this belt, it fits it by width but not by length. Now here's your little cheat sheet for drive belts, because you can look on your belt. Let's see. Ooh, dang, I'm good. Pulled it right up. Okay, see that number, 6PK2345, and this number is 6PK2360. Now just to break those numbers down, the 6 is how many little ribs there are, if I can get it to focus just right, in the drive belt. So in this case there are 6 ribs. If it was a 3PK, it would have 3 ribs. And I noticed that 6 ribs fits. Bam, right in the groove. So I now know how wide my belt needs to be, but now we need length. Now just for the rest of the numbers, 2345, that means this belt is 2,345 millimeters long. That's the stock belt on my truck. But when I upgraded to bigger alternator, I needed a 2360. So a couple millimeters longer because the alternator was bigger, and so it had to change its center of point. Alright, there's just a little automotive, hey, something on the side. No, I'm not recommending a brand name, just giving you a little info. So, that being said, I now know I need a 6PK something. So once I figure out how I'm going to mount this guy onto this setup, then unfortunately I'll have to spend a little money. Yes, I know, I got to go buy a belt. But, you know, hey, I got the alternator because I already had one. I got the bicycle for 20 bucks. Okay, so I'll invest 20, 30 bucks in a drive belt. Small price to pay, but, you know, I got everything else for it, so let's get back to the process. And here begins the conversion. Now, I have a nice long threaded rod here, and I'm going to use it to attach these guys here. I'll explain what they are in a second. But the problem is, threaded rod doesn't fit the hole. How do you fix that problem? Oh, that's right. So let's enlarge this thing so I can mount it. Watch and see. Now what I've done to mount this, oh, just in case I didn't tell you before, there used to be wheels here. See, there they are. But I don't plan on moving this thing much, so that's why the wheels and little axle came out. But I've got two nuts on the end. Why two, you ask? Is one not good enough? Well, actually, no. If you take and hold the inner one and tighten the outer one, it actually squeezes these guys together, and it operates as a lock nut. So what that does is it keeps this from backing off. Whereas on this side, where I don't have it together, I could just turn it and see it would just come off and fall off, and we don't want that. So once I get this rod cut and get this nut off of here, I'll put it on here and tighten it together and jam it, and that will keep these where they're tight enough to or loose enough to move, but tight enough to where they won't come off. Alright, so yes, very long bolt. That's a threaded rod, just in case I didn't mention. But we'll snip that and we'll move on to the next part. And that's how we have the alternator rigged in. I've got, this is my 3/8 threaded rod, runs through the middle of all this, double nuts. But here I've used a 1/2-inch spacer pipe. This is basically just electrical conduit stuff. It was kind of the cheapest thing I could find because this doesn't need to be super heavy duty industrial blah 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 blah. So I've just got to kind of, it's just resting on there. Don't ask much and it don't give me much. But I've measured around it and it's like 54 inches, so I'm going to convert that into metric and going to go get a belt. And we'll see how this works. Will it? I don't know. But the idea here is, when, get back here, since we're standing up, when I lay it on the ground, the weight of the alternator, is going to push forward. That weight hopefully will be enough to keep the belt on it. If not, I'll come up with something else to work with. But that's kind of the first set of theory. You know how this is. Welcome to the experimental age. Try this, try that. Because if it don't work, according to the millennials, it's not my fault it doesn't work. It's someone else's fault. Well, not a millennial, so this is my fault. So, once again, we're going to try this. We're going to see what's happened. For you, a moment. For me, I got to run to the store, come back, rig it up, set it up. But it'll look a lot cooler when I'm done. So, hold on. And voila. We went to the store and we got, well, let's see. The Duralast is a 548K6, which, if you remember back to the earlier lesson, 6PK, 1390. So I got a belt that's 1,390 millimeters long. Whee! Okay. So how did we do this? Well, if you look, the belt fits rather nicely in the groove, comes around the alternator and back down. This means I can actually keep the plastic on this thing and make it look like I've never done nothing to it. Ooh. Now how does it work? Well, as I pedal, this goes around, which turns that, which turns this guy. Not exactly rocket science. Let me get this thing put all the way together and kind of show you a demo. My nemesis of power. How does it work? Well, let's get a bird's eye view. Step one. Hey, let's put our feet in the right spot. You know, it's hard to look at a camera and do this. Step two, pedal. That's it. Alternator's turning. And with the alternator turning, we should have power. But now I have to connect the power to the grid. That's the next step. But at least the hard part's done. All the nuts and bolts. So, let's give it a go, shall we? Okay, so for a sweaty report, because right now I'm a bit sweaty. I got the bicycle working, but you know, it's hard to make electricity, alright? But check out how this sucker's wired. Yes, it's a little gangster, I know. But we got it plugged in. Got a surge protector. Why? Just because I had one. Running over here. Now this is a inverter, or not an inverter. It's a converter to convert windmill power into electricity. And like you see, just plugs into the wall. Nothing fancy, nothing tricky. And as you see, it is working. I am pumping power into my house right now. But how is this going? Well, from here, I run to, this is a solar charger. Let's see, come on, focus for me. Anyway, it is a 7 amp charger. So what this guy does, and as you see by the little red light, hey, it's working, hence why those lights are blinking. What this guy does, it comes back, I have a small battery here, because an alternator requires a battery to charge. Look, these guys are friends. They're hardwired together. So, that being said, I got this guy hooked up to that, which is providing that. Now, how do I get the power back in here? Yes, I've got these giant cords. No way in hell am I going to pedal that much power. But from there, I'm running up to the alternator. I've got it grounded to the chassis here. I've got my power here. And I got my control wires here. Working on this. This is a little finessey because from here, I'm going to a little rheostat, which I may dump and just use a resistor. Trial and error, right? But I take this guy. It goes in here. This is a 5-wire generator. You can look up the Google way of how to get this part done. But it's a 5-wire generator wired in. So as soon as I start pedaling, well, let me show you. We have, what is that, 12.18 volts. Alright, now let's see if this thing will work for me. We'll do a little pedaling. Of course not. As you can see by my pretty toes, not a lot of high-speed pedaling. This is a pretty big resistance, at least for me. But let me show you what it's doing with the power. Yes, it's upside down. Alright, but you see we have 12.13 volts. So we start pedaling. See? It does work. Notice the numbers are changing for the good. And then of course we stop. And then go back to a static. Now let me enlighten you to something. You got to pedal to make this happen. I'm sweating. I've been at this 5 minutes. But you know what? Why buy an exercise bicycle when you can make the exercise pay for you by itself? I don't know. I'm sweaty, tired, and wore out already. And I ain't been at this but a few minutes. Fat boy got to do some pedaling. So I guess I'm going to get to work. See if I can make some electricity. Next step, I got a little meter and let me see how much I'm pumping into the wall. But I got to go buy one. Another one of those won't be a moment for you, but might be a day or 3 for me until I can go out and get one. So watch this. And here we have our little kilowatt gem. Sorry, I've been working on this thing some. So as you see, right now we're producing nothing. Well, duh, not pedaling. I added a few switches. Things aren't turned on. Things are hooked up and ready to go though. So we're going to start this process by one. We're going to cut this guy on. Alright, we're now connected to the wall. which means when this guy is on, we have a key off, I guess you'd say draw, of 0.015 amps. Alright, which means when this guy is ready to go, he's actually using electricity until you give electricity back. Now, we come over here. Sorry, couldn't resist the cheesy jet fighter. Ooh. Ah. And bam. We have 12.6 volts in our battery that I've been pedaling to charge. Now, if you notice, this guy here is kind of fast blinking. He's not doing anything right now because even though it says it starts at 10 volts, they lie. So, we have 12 and a half. I got to get this guy up to around 13 and then it will start. So, the camera's going to get shaky here, but I'm going to pedal like a monkey until that guy there starts to blink in series. Let's see. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Alright. Let's see. So see, it does work. Got it up to 14.4. Now, while this guy is charging, as you see, let's see. Maybe I can get a better camera angle here. There we go. I think 6.4 amps. 0.64, so a little more than half an amp going into the wall, which is kind of what I've expected because my solar charger is 7 amps. 7 amps at 12 volts equals 0.7 amps at 120 volts. So with some transfer losses, pumping losses, etc., etc., there you go. It seems to be working. Hey, I might have done something. And as you see with this guy here, it shows me a total. So I, so far, have put 1.67 amps of power into the wall, into my electric bill, saving me that much money. Now, as I got playing around with this thing, I noticed there's some pretty cool features to this guy, if I can figure out how to work it. Yep, there's the total number of watts I've shoved in the wall, the maximum amount of watts I've shoved in the wall. Let's see, the amperage, but what am I looking for? There we go. Assuming, because I'm not even sure what my electric rate is, it's 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So far, my machine on its first day of operation has made me 18 cents. Yeah, I'm not going to get rich, but this little device here, thank you Amazon Prime, is going to show me how much money I'm making. Now the only thing that I'm slightly disappointed, and I say slightly because I really didn't expect it. Right now I'm pushing electricity into the wall, so in theory I should show negative because it is going backwards, but I don't think this thing's calibrated to take electricity going backwards the wrong way, whatever you call it. So it's just seeing power and it's going, hey, this much electricity is flowing through me. So you got to use a little bit of common sense to figure out what's what, but there you go. It works. Now, me, I'm working. I'm a little respiratory, can you tell? Out of shape max. Well, part of this whole living on the mountain thing, like I said, get me in shape. The bike, get me in shape. The only difference is one pays me physical dividends by walking up the mountain. The other one saves me money. So in essence, I'm paying myself to work out. Once I make back the roughly, I don't know, 45 bucks I got in this bicycle. So everything after $45, money in the pocket. So there you go, neato gizmo. Questions you guys ask, I'll see if I can answer, but in the meantime, I'm gonna do another 50 pumps on the bike, put some more power in the house, and then yeah, time to take a shower. Y'all have fun.